Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Show Me the Podcast. I'm joined here by my co-host Harry.
What up?
What up? And this episode is all about Christopher Nolan versus Wes Craven.
Some music. Check that out.
I know.
Oh my god, dude! There was a fucking fork lightning behind your head. That was sick.
Sorry, there's some serious thunder and lightning going on.
Oh, did you hear that, guys? Literally, as Lorraine started talking, then a fork of lightning shot behind her head.
A fork?
Yeah, no, it was like
the devil's fork.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say, Harry?
That was epic. Okay, sorry.
God. It's only just started, so yeah, we'll probably be a bit distracted, I think, during this this episode. But following last episodes, which we focus on the auteur, we decided to have an auteur-director off, as we both consider very different directors to be auteurs. So here we are with Christopher Nolan versus the horror man himself, Wes Craven. So 2 directors and 2 films, each from their repertoire, under discussion in this episode.
Okay, so Lorraine.
Yes, Harry.
Yes, Lorraine. What have you chosen, Craven-wise?
Well, firstly, I picked Scream because everybody loves Scream.
Even I like Scream.
Exactly.
Spoiler.
It's a horror film I think that people can handle. So I picked that one. And secondly, I went with his first Nightmare on Elm Street. I was thinking of the third one because I always associate Nightmare on Elm Street with Wes Craven, but actually he only wrote the third one. He didn't actually direct it, and he didn't actually direct the second one either, which we don't discuss because it's shit. So yeah, I'm going with the first one because that's the one he directed, even though he did have involvement with some of the others. And Harry, your choices for Nolan are?
Inception and Dunkirk.
Okay. Short and sweet and to the point.
Yeah.
I'm one for rambling on. So, but Harry,
I can be concise when I want to be.
Yeah, exactly.
People wouldn't believe this of me if they knew me well, but
but having said that, we did a couple of votes over who preferred Craven and Nolan, and one of them it was Nolan, and the other one it was Craven.
yeah, that was strange how that worked out.
But people were saying, like, one person commented and they were like going, you can't compare the two.
No.
But we just want to clarify, it actually wasn't about that. We just wanted to talk about a director each. So we just turned it into a kind of like a, Rocky versus Apollo Creed type thing. And but the reason I picked Craven was because Harry is not, which is a question actually I'm going to ask her in a minute from one of our listeners.
Oh.
But I didn't tell you about that, did I? Harry's not a huge horror fan, and I am. So actually, I'm going to ask you that question now. I know I'm jumping ahead of the game, but the question was from one of our listeners called Charlotte, and she said, you've mentioned how you don't really like horror, and she actually wants to know what is it about horror films that, you don't like.
I just want to get the record straight. I don't dislike horror.
Okay.
I dislike certain types of horror.
Okay, what, like the gore fest?
I'm not into...
Well, I'm not even a fan of that, if I'm honest with you.
Dude, last week you were like, oh, I love Rob Zombie.
No, I do, but no, when I say horror, I mean, like, his are more, I prefer more like it messes with your head horror. When you watch the Rob Zombie films, yeah, they're messed up, but they mess with your head. I don't want to watch a horror film that's just going around slashing people, guts open, stuff like that.
Yeah, no way.
Whereas Rob Zombie, he messes with your head. So yeah, gore for gore's sake, I don't watch them.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I respect you a bit more.
All right, it's been 10 years and you tell me that now. Fine, I'll just have a glass of Prosecco.
Yeah, no, I do enjoy horror, and actually when we get to my recent watches, I've seen
from your initial review on our Instagram page that you actually enjoyed a horror recently, but like you said, we'll discuss that in a minute. But getting on to that, actually.
Getting on.
What have you been watching lately, including the horror film that you're going to tell us about?
Yeah, so I'll start with the stuff I'm not that impressed with. Jessica Jones season 2. I haven't even made it to the end, and I loved the first series.
So are you not going to watch the rest of it?
I'm going to.
Is it a bit iZombie-ish where you're not going to really...
I started watching that again, actually.
Have you?
I've got back into it. Some things still don't make sense to me.
Sorry, Jessica Jones.
Yeah. It's just a bit of a hard slog. I like all its stylistic traits still, but the storyline, it's not that gripping this season, so I'm a little bit disappointed in that. Yeah.
I won't give it a go then.
Well, no, I think you should, because the first season's great, and it's been renewed for a season 3.
Okay.
So
maybe they'll pick it up.
Yeah. And then, so I've also watched a film which I thought I would really think was really, really shit, because it got panned when it came out.
Okay.
But I watched The Huntsman, A Winter's Tale, I think it is, with
I think Charlize Theron, Chris Hemsworth and Chris... I've seen that. I actually liked it.
No, I
Yeah,
did.
I did. I liked it.
And what I liked it for was I was watching it, I was thinking, this isn't great. I really liked Snow White and the Huntsman. I thought that was quite well done, and it was it kind of harkened back to like films of the 80s that I love, like the fantasy ones like Willow, Princess Bride, all that sort of stuff. But actually, I halfway through this, I realised actually this is probably a little bit more like those, and I just thought it was nice that children of a certain age may grow up thinking, of this film like I think of those films, and so I did enjoy that.
Quite a romantic way to look at it, Harry.
I know. You should see Lorraine's face. It's a picture.
Sorry, huge big flash of lightning out there.
Sorry, I will come back to my horror one. What have you watched recently?
Well, I watched. I'd seen it advertised. It was a TV program called Sick Note with Rupert Grint in it, Harry Potter's Ron Weasley, and it was really, really bizarre. And I don't really want to say too much about it because it is still available for people on Sky to watch. And I watched it all in one go. I think there were 6 episodes, and I just sat and watched it. It was from I can't pronounce his last name, but James Siranafinowicz or something like that. But I think he's the brother of another guy with that same surname. But he was, the boss in Shaun of the Dead. He was Simon Pegg's boss. He was a real dick. Or he lived with him. No, it was the guy that lived with him, and he was in the shower.
Oh, yeah.
Him.
Oh.
It's his brother, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Rupert Grint's in it. Nick Frost from Shaun of the Dead is in it. And Don Johnson is in it. So basically, I know, it sounds really weird. Yeah, Miami Vice, Don Johnson. So basically, it's Rupert Grint works in this like call center place, and he's been diagnosed with cancer. So everyone treats him like shit, but then he's been diagnosed with cancer. His girlfriend's not going to dump him. And, it's just basically this story about how he then realizes he hasn't got cancer because his doctor is Nick Frost and he fucked it up. So the both of them are trying to figure out a way how to make the best out of this situation.
Okay.
Which means not telling anybody that he actually doesn't have cancer, because he doesn't want his girlfriend to leave him. And then there's this whole big thing with his friend that they think they've killed, but they haven't killed, but then maybe he has. And
it's got quite a dark element to
it. It has, but I really liked it, and from it you can tell there's going to be another season. I'm hoping there's going to be another season.
Where is this available to watch?
Sky. I just got it off Sky. But Don Johnson, I mean, he's a bastard in it, but he's so good.
Okay.
I think that's so well casted. He just he's one of these guys where you come in and go, you come in crying because you've got cancer, and he's like, what the fuck are you crying for? This type of thing. But it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I binged watched it. I watched the whole thing in one setting.
Oh, is it set in the UK?
Yeah. And sorry, thunder. Wow. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
So you're going to be able to hear that.
I love thunder and lightning.
But it was good as also, I think Rupert Grint is a really good actor, because I only really obviously know him from Harry Potter.
I think he was the best one in the Harry Potter series for a long time.
He's really good in it. But yeah, I definitely recommend get yourself an evening, and you can sit and do it in one evening.
Okay.
Because I did.
Cool.
And for film wise, I went and saw Spielberg's Ready Player One.
And what did you think?
I loved it. I thought it was a bit slow to start. I wasn't sure. And then being an 80s fan, this 80s music kicked in and this whole kind of like nostalgia came back, and they do so many film references.
Is it just 80s film references though?
I think so. There's a lot of film 80s references in it from what I remember. There may be more, I can't remember 100%, but I just remember thinking, oh that. Bless you, Harry.
Sorry.
So rude, interrupting my my little Ready Player One moment here. But you're right, can you sneeze? She sneezes all the time. No, but definitely loads of film references in it. Great, amazing 80s soundtrack. There's a love story in it that's she's gone.
So sorry.
God, I used to live with that. There's a love story in it that it's a bit contrived. It's a bit, you know, I didn't think you needed it. It's okay, but I didn't think you really needed it. Great cinema. Oh, Jesus. She's like on a roll here. Film definitely for the cinema, big screen. And for any of you who listened to episode 1 of our Show Me the Podcast, you will realise I love the film The Shining. It was in my top 5, and she's going again. She's gone. Top 5, The Shining, and they do this amazing. I'm not going to tell you what it is because when I saw it, I was really like blown away by it and quite shocked at how well they did it. But they do this amazing thing with The Shining.
I know. I listened to a spoiler special on a certain podcast.
So, you know, if you want a great action film at the cinema, go see this.
Okay.
Definitely.
I do want to see it. Yeah, definitely. I'll try and get there.
Cool.
So my cinema watch, moving back to the horror kind of thing.
I know, and I really want to see this. I saw them on the Graham Norton show, and me and Dev were watching it, and they showed a clip. You know when they show a clip and the clip ends, and you're like, no, what happens? That to me, that's a sign of something I want to see, because you forget that you're just seeing a clip.
Yeah.
And you want to see what happens next. Yeah.
In case you don't know what we're talking about A Quiet Place.
Looks so good.
It's very good, and this is what I mean. Like I you know, some horror I love, dude. There have been films and TV shows out there that I've really appreciated. So I like, and I don't want to sound like a douchebag saying this, but I like sort of intelligent horror that makes you feel, makes you think, and makes you incredibly tense. I like being tense.
Am I allowed to ask? And I don't know, will this give anything away? Is there much dialogue in it?
No.
No. Okay.
Not everybody knows that. There isn't.
Oh, isn't there? Okay, cool.
It is a quiet film. So I was nervous seeing it in the cinema because of people munching and generally, you know,
annoying you. Yeah.
Annoying.
I get that.
And there were elements of that, you know, people coughing, shut up, you know. But
were you sneezing and annoying people?
I wasn't actually. It's a very good film, and hats off to John Krasinski. But
did he direct it?
He directed it. He, I think he helped produce it as well, and he also edited part of the script with the two other guys. I can't remember their names off the top of my head. And yeah, he was a massive like powerhouse behind getting it created, and it was great. And he's also very good to look at. So
pleasing to the eye.
But his character's great. He's the patriarch, and he is the kind of force behind keeping them alive for a good chunk of the movie. It's just really good, and you are literally on the edge of your seat.
It's a great idea.
It's a fantastic idea.
It's original.
Yeah,
I like that.
What I'm a bit nervous about is that they've been talking about A Quiet Place 2. Don't do it, please.
Oh, it doesn't need it. No.
It doesn't need it. Just
okay.
It just shouldn't happen, in my opinion. But I said in my initial review, if you guys check out our Instagram and our other social media platforms, I said that I don't think it's necessarily a horror in the traditional sense. It's like a grounded sci-fi, and I don't think I'm remiss to say, because John Krasinski has said this in interviews, that they are aliens. And but the story is strong because you're not sure about their background or anything. You hardly see them for a huge chunk of the movie, and it's set in the woods. You know, you don't see it much. Wow. You don't see much horror sci-fi going on. It's just literally how it's all revolving around this family, and it's so intense. That's all I could really say, and I highly recommend everybody to watch it, but not necessarily in the cinema. I personally think I would massively enjoy this with lights off
at home.
Yeah. So that's that.
I am looking forward to seeing that, but I will be probably seeing that at home. So I will. So I've watched season 2 of Santa Clarita's Diet.
Oh yeah.
This show is so fucking bizarre.
Is it Santa Clarita's or
Clarita? Santa Clarita Diet. Yeah. Drew Barrymore, Timothy Oliphant.
His mouth freaks me out.
His mouth.
Yeah, just saying.
Really? Okay. I love him in this. I think
he's great.
I love her in this as well. But for any of you who don't know, basically, Drew Barrymore is a zombie, but it's a regular, everyday person. The only thing that's different about her is that she needs human flesh to survive. But from looking at her and her life, you wouldn't actually think there was anything different. So it's
she doesn't need, like, fake tan or anything.
No. It's just it's weird. It is funny. It's really, really gross in some parts, but it's on Netflix. But I'm not going to give anything away because it's only come out. It's not long out. But definitely, if you haven't watched the first one, go back and do it. I binged watched both seasons over 2 settings. But it's really, really good, and I think it kind of gives the different kind of twist on like iZombie in the sense that they're not like The Walking Dead or World War Z, you know, where like they, you know, they're just we're gonna eat you type thing.
Yeah.
Like they have ways of finding what they need in, like, you know, like for instance in this they kill
so they kill people.
Yeah, but they're people that deserve, like in Dexter, you've gone out and murdered kids, so who's going to miss you? You know, that type of way. So they try and get it from people that
won't be missed,
that deserve it, basically, because they've done such horrible things. Which is the same, like with, if any of you haven't seen it, it's Dexter. It's the same. That's how he killed.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely give it a go. I think it's really good. And the thing is, they live in this lovely street cul-de-sac type thing, and it's all bright and sunny and shiny and life's great and stuff like that. Yeah, they're doing these. But there's her daughter, Drew Barrymore's daughter, has this like best friend, and them two together is amazing. They're really good. Like the lad in it, he's so funny. I can't remember his name, but he's really funny.
Something I watched, you'll be very proud of me. I've watched a documentary.
Really? I'm rubbing off on you.
Please don't.
You wish.
No. I was on Amazon Prime the other day, and I was by myself, and I saw a documentary advertised called Charge, the Eduardo Garcia story. And I watched the trailer for it, and it just hooked me straight away. It's a really nicely put together documentary, very stylish. Basically, it's about this guy. He was a chef on a yacht, a well-renowned chef, but he was based in Montana. And he went hiking one day, and he found a sort of metal can in the middle of nowhere, and inside it was a dead bear. And
a dead bear.
And he touched the bear, and 2,400 volts shot right through him. And yeah, he managed to survive this.
Okay.
I won't go into too much more detail, but he managed to survive this, and his friend documented his recovery and post recovering, and this guy went through an awful lot. He has a really interesting history, and what happened to him was insane, and I highly recommend people watching this, because
I love a documentary. I'll watch it.
And he's such a likable character. He's a bit like, who does he look like? He looks like Isaac. what's the actor's name? Oscar Isaacs.
Yeah.
And he's just got a very him and the lady, his friend who filmed a lot of it. They're just really interesting people, and it's one to watch. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to do one quick one.
Okay.
So for all of you lot that like your Blue Planet and all that kind of
I do like that.
Okay, good. Well, on Netflix, there's a 3-part documentary called Wild Alaska. Now, I have a strange obsession with Alaska. I don't know why. I want to go there. Anything that it comes on the telly that has the word Alaska in it, I am.
It's not lying.
Yeah, because there's this like program about serial killers called Ice Cold Killers. I'm not saying Alaska.
Oh my god.
Ice Road Truckers.
You must
that goes through
love,
Alaska
like,
and Canada.
Insomnia.
So basically, it's narrated by Doug Ray Scott. You might know him from Mission Impossible 2.
I do.
Yeah.
He's got a lovely voice.
And it's got such, yeah, he does actually. He's very soothing. It's got such extreme seasons in it. It's like all about obviously the wildlife up there, and because of location, you know, the way they have extreme darkness. So it's like 65 days of darkness, 24 hours a day, and then they have the 24 hours of light, frozen lakes, waterfalls, mountains. You know, and then there was a strange thing where, which I thought was really bizarre. This Arctic ground squirrel sleeps for 8 months straight. Wow. She's fertile for 12 hours a year. And she's quite choosy about who she mates. So, yeah, so it's just got some really, the locations are beautiful. So for anyone that likes their... Are you getting excited by the lightning? No. So for anyone that likes their, you know, that kind of thing, Blue Planet, David Attenborough-esque style thing, give this a go. It's on Netflix, so just give it a go.
Sweet. You know what I was... No, I was thinking of when you were telling me about that was 30 Days of Night.
No, that's one of the reasons I love it.
I will never forget being in the cinema watching that with you. That was so funny.
Oh, yeah.
So,
is that when I jumped?
To give you guys a bit of backstory, I'd already seen this film with my brother like a week previous, but I went with the guys at uni to go and see 30 Days of Night, which included Lorraine. And I was sat a person away from you. Yeah. And so I knew what Lorraine was like when it comes to like scary films. And
I shout and say, I swear. I've got Tourette's, don't I think, when I'm watching horror films.
So a really quiet bit. I'm sorry, other cinema goers, but I sort of like leant around the other person and like tapped Lorraine on the shoulder. And she just shouts in the middle of the cinema, Jesus fucking Mary and Joseph. That was the best part of the whole film for me.
I actually remember that. Yeah, because I have this, if you make me jump, I swear.
You do.
I swear so bad. Like,
you scare the person away.
Exactly. Like I remember once working in this.
Mechanism.
I remember once working in this bar, and my boss come up behind me, and I didn't realise, and I turned around and I screamed in his face, "Fuck off!"
Oh my god!
And then I just looked at him, and he just like started laughing, but it was a proper "fuck off." Like that. So like I remember when I was going to meet my partner's mum for the first time, I was like, can you make sure I can see her all the time? Because sometimes I say you fucking whore. And I was like, I really don't want to call your mum a whore. So yeah, watching films with me. I remember in uni though that you guys would actually put on scary films and invite me to watch them just so you could laugh at me.
That isn't true.
No, it is. Drag me to hell.
Oh, that was shit.
Yeah, and I didn't jump, and you were also disappointed. But I remember once I was watching the new Amityville film, and I was watching it in the cinema. It was halfway through, and these people decide to walk down, and it was this little. You weren't with me. It was this little really old couple.
I like the way you say little. You weren't with me.
There was this little old couple that walked down, and I was halfway down the cinema, and they walked down, and next thing they just stood next to me. It was halfway through the film. I wasn't expecting anyone to be there, and I just turned around in the middle of the cinema. This is in Galway in Ireland, and I just looked at them. I went, "Fuck!"
Oh, you'd be terrible. I think it's the woman in black in the play, and the woman ends up like sitting next to someone. You'd just be horrendous in that crowd.
Like, fuck off. I know. Sorry.
So anyway,
yeah. If you want to watch a horror film, watch one with me. You'll have a great time. Oh God. Okay, so we answered the question about the horror films that we were asked, but we did get some in our little Cheers Ears section.
That's what we call it now,
Yeah.
guys. Mhm.
Harrie says that a lot, Cheers Ears, so she had to get it in some way. About certain films from Christopher Nolan and Wes Craven that they like. So Harrie, why don't you go first from Michael?
All right.
All right.
So Michael, he says, my choice is definitely A Nightmare on Elm Street. Freddy, is just a classic horror character. Maybe not all the Elm Street films have been great. We won't mention 2, but this one was amazing.
I have to agree with you there, Michael.
I have no comment.
The next one was from Jessica. I love Inception simply for the reason it keeps you on your toes and you can't leave the screen for a second.
That's right. That is right.
That is right. Which I will talk about later.
Well, I'll talk about it. Okay. Sarah has written in. She says, my favourite Wes Craven film is Scream. I just think this is really clever how he manages to incorporate all the horror cliches and then have his characters do the very thing he mocks, which, yes, I do agree with. Yeah.
He does that well.
Mm-hmm.
And the next one is from Dev, and he actually is discussing he's not discussing one of the films me and you were talking about. He's discussing a film that Harrie actually spoke about in episode 5 as one of her films that she loves so much that she'd like to see it again.
I do.
And that was The Prestige.
Oh, yes.
Dev actually wrote, "Ooh, do The Prestige. Love that film. That and The Dark Knight are the best Chris Nolan films in my opinion. Dark Knight, though, you'd just end up talking about Heath Ledger because, well, it was an amazing performance."
Yeah, it was.
It was. I did like that
great.
film. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't picked that film. Sorry.
I know, which I thought you actually did because for about 2 weeks, for some reason, because you were gonna do it, weren't you? Were you ever gonna do it? Because I remember for about 2 weeks, I was like, "Oh, Dev, we get to sit and watch The Dark Knight." And then I looked at our notes and I went, "Oh shit, she's doing Dunkirk."
Read the notes.
I know. Okay. So, Harrie, why don't you start with Christopher Nolan and let us know a bit about him? Because to be quite honest with you, I don't know too much about him, so maybe you can enlighten me as you enlighten others.
He's just a very interesting filmmaker of like in recent years, and he's been around for like 15 years or whatever,
Yeah.
and just like knocked it out of the park, knocked people off their socks, and I just love that about him. And his films are excellent in my opinion.
Yeah, because I'm not going to mention any because I know you want to talk about some you mentioned some of them.
Stop
but like,
playing
yeah.
footsie with me,
Oh, sorry, Danny. I had a wee look through, and he's made some really good films that I actually enjoyed myself.
Yeah, in the last episode we kind of talked about the auteur,
With Tim Burton,
and I think Nolan, without a doubt, is in his own rights an auteur.
Yeah.
Especially in today's standards, especially with the likes of Dunkirk, which has just come out, which is why I kind of picked it to sort of be a bit with the times. So his themes, he explores things, and I'm going to really struggle to say this word.
Okay.
Epistemological.
Okay.
I've probably said that wrong, but it's the theory of knowledge. And then he also does metaphysical, which is the
Sorry, there was a flash of lightning there.
Which is also the understanding of existence, and he sort of explores these themes with often in his films through the idea of memory and time, which is why which I think really stand out in Inception.
Oh, definitely.
And Dunkirk.
Yeah, as you're saying this, I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I just think he deserves talking about. He's one of the most acclaimed directors of the 21st century, and if you don't sort of put Nolan in the mix of best directors out there, what are you watching?
All right.
So he is an English filmmaker with a dual British and American citizenship, and he started making films from the age of 7, which I think is like fair play to him.
Quite like Tim Burton, he was very young as well.
Yeah. And apparently it all started when his dad gave him a Super 8 camera, which I just love because that's just there's something about that Super 8 camera. I need one for myself just to play play. And then since then he's kind of just gone from strength to strength. He started making films with his partner at the time, which was Emma Thompson, who he met at uni in a film club.
Really?
Yeah, it's a lovely story.
Emma Thompson.
No.
Oh.
Just she has the same name.
Oh, right. Bit misleading.
Yeah. And in an interview I listened to about him recently, he kind of was asked, "Do you believe in love at first sight?" Because he saw this woman and he was like, they had a thing.
Did they, do
it?
No. Did they like become lovers? Well, yeah. Did they become lovers?
Yes, they formed a relationship at university, and then they went on to like in this film society, and then they went on to get married and start making films. Yeah. Oh right. And that's what I think it's called. Syncopy, his company who make.
Are they still together?
Yeah.
Aww.
She produces his films.
Oh,
it's great. It's like the ideal relationship.
it's lovely.
So yeah, he started out making sort of commercial adverts. Lugging the equipment around, learning about all aspects of filmmaking, audio, the cinematography behind it, production, editing, blah blah blah. And then he eventually, I think he made a film for like £3,000 or something.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And along the lines, he got picked up by the studios and made Memento.
Yeah.
And I have to admit, it's been such a long time since I've seen that film, but I remember at the time thinking, this is something special.
So the one with Guy Pearce?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he made Insomnia, and I didn't love Insomnia too much, I have to say. But it was still an interesting film. And then he got I think he made something else as well, but then he got the go-ahead to make the Batman films. And what a good job he did with those films. I mean, it's almost like he started a rebrand, didn't he? It's like this grounded, gritty, mature version of the superhero story, and that's my bag. Totally, I love that. And then from there he kind of dipped into other films. So he made Inception. Love that film.
I'm not going to talk about it until you talk about it.
Okay. He made Interstellar, which
yeah.
I don't love it, but at the cinema it blew my socks off.
Oh my god, I haven't seen that's the Matthew McConaughey one. I haven't seen that yet.
Oh,
Is that,
it's good.
No.
Yeah, so again, that's like what? What? And then he made The Prestige, which is just like one of my favourite films ever. It's in my top 10. Couldn't put it in my top 5.
I think I'm gonna. I have seen it, but I think I'm gonna watch that one again.
Oh, I just love it. I love it
because
so
Dev
much.
was like wanting to watch it again, so I think I'm gonna watch it again.
It's like Victoriana sci-fi. I suppose it's kind of.
And
like,
I love me a bit of Hugh.
I don't love him so much in that film.
Yeah, but he's good to look at. No, I do love Hugh Jackman. He's a great actor.
He's a fantastic
despite
actor.
the fact that he's amazing to look at.
And what I also like about him in my research and like following interviews with this guy, in his production process, he draws. He's like an architect. He plans things to within an inch of their life and then starts making the film, which I like. And apparently his like drawings are like Escher and you know what?
No. You're the artist, not me.
Have you seen those pictures that kind of mess with your head and it's like a staircase?
Yeah.
That's Escher. And he kind of, thinking of Inception, for an example, he knew what his objective was and he designed it all himself. Well, look, I'm sure he had help, but that's how he like project manages, and I just love that as well.
Wow.
And I also like the fact that he has like an arsenal of actors that he continuously uses. You've got Cillian Murphy, Tom Hardy, Michael Caine, Christian Bale. He I like the fact that he's not like, let's move on to the next one. He's like, I know what I can get out of you. And we're
similar to Tim Burton, like there are some directors, that they keep on using, But I suppose at the same time they're going in to do a job, and isn't it great to have people that you are good actors, but also that that you can work with?
Yeah. So that's Christopher Nolan,
Yeah, no, actually there was stuff there that I didn't actually know, so that makes it sound like I know everything. But as I said, I'm not. Yeah, I do. I know everything. I'm Sheldon Cooper.
So tell me a bit about Wes Craven.
Okay, well, first of all, the reason I picked him is because I am a fan of horror, but as we discussed, I'm not a big gore fest fan, and I feel with some of the films I've seen of his, I don't feel that they're at. I don't feel that like they're that. I know that there is blood and all that kind of stuff in them, but I don't feel like they're over the top. You need to hide your eyes type thing. But on doing some research, there was a couple of films that I seen of his that I forgot about, that I'm glad I forgot about, and I'm kind of didn't want to remember, which I will go to in a second, because they're really quite sick. But yeah, so unfortunately, Wes Craven was an American film director, writer, producer, actor, born in 1939, but unfortunately he passed away in 2015. I think he was only 72 or something, that works out as. But
I didn't realise he was that old.
Yeah. And it seems like from stuff I've read that he was actually a good person to work with. He got on well with people, great, a nice guy, so to speak. So yeah, when he passed, it was quite a shame, because I do think he's a great horror director. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he's come out with two of the best Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream franchises. Like, do you know what I mean? They are good.
Can I just point out
You're
something
going to say something bad.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Just let me speak.
You may speak.
Whilst we're recording this podcast, just as we were setting up, before we started talking, I looked around the room and I noticed behind me is a Nightmare on Elm Street poster.
A framed picture.
Framed, yeah. She's at Nadal.
Are you looking at the other one as well over there?
And then, across from me is a signed photo of Neve Campbell in the screen.
Well, I went to, oh my God, what's it called? Comic-Con.
I love the way you looked down your glasses at me.
I went to Comic-Con in London, and I met my brother, which I'm so regretting right now. My brother met Wes Craven. Not Wes Craven, Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger.
Okay.
And I met Neve Campbell. Mm-hmm. And it was actually the same day I met Sigourney Weaver. But I could talk about that for ages. I may have only been there for 2 seconds, but still.
What was she like? Neve Campbell?
She was actually really nice. She looks amazing. She looks really well in person. And I got to have a little bit longer with her because the pen didn't work. So she had a little chat with me about the fact that the pen didn't work.
Really?
Yeah, so we connected on that level. But no, she was really friendly. She was really polite. And I'll be honest with you, from what I seen, because you could see a lot of people, you can see a lot of the Game of Thrones people, Back to the Future, all this kind of stuff. There was loads of people there that weren't like the main, like Sigourney Weaver and Michael J. Fox. They were like the main attraction. You had to go somewhere to see them, whereas there was all these like desks around of certain
Michael J.
people.
Fox.
Yeah, but the experience, because my friend that we went with, he went to Michael J. Fox, and it was a bit of a different experience because of his
We should totally go to Comic-Con
condition.
and do
Yeah.
a live episode there.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh my God. Sorry to...
Comic-Con is amazing, and I have a friend of mine, him and his family, Dave Pope. Hi, Dave. They're going to San Diego this year. Yeah, I'm so jealous. But yeah, it's if you get to go to Comic-Con, it's an amazing experience. And we seen Lorraine McFly from Back to the Future was at it, and oh my God,
She
is stunning. She looked so good. But yeah, no, it's really interesting because you get to see all these actors, and you're kind of just standing right next to them, and it's just.
I just want to dress up, I have to say. There's that in
Yeah, no, we didn't, but like, no, I'd definitely go to it again because I really enjoyed it, and it's just so much fun, and you could spend a small fortune there or a big fortune. I think if you went to the San Diego one, because...
See, I'm not like... I think that's where I fell in the film, like loving... I'm not into my memorabilia sort of stuff.
No, but it's just like when I got up to meet Sigourney Weaver, it was just amazing. And like when I was kind of like, when it come to Neve Campbell, I was like, who do I want to meet? And I was looking at different people, and I went, actually, no, I do like her. Like, do you know what I mean? And I love Scream, and I've party of 5 days and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, yeah, I want to meet her. And she was really pleasant. Like, she was really pleasant.
I just remember her from The Craft. The Craft was the film I loved.
The Craft, yeah. So, But yeah, back to old
Sorry.
Mr. Craven himself. Yeah, so unfortunately, like I said, he passed away.
Craven his real surname.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Wesley Craven.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, so he directed films, horror films, and these are the ones that I find a bit more hard to watch. And you know, Last House on the Left and The Hills Have Eyes, Swamp Thing. Before he kind of got into the whole Nightmare on Elm Street thing, and he was also responsible for some actors kind of getting their break. Like, so you had Sharon Stone with the film Deadly Blessing. You had Bruce Willis, Twilight Zone,
Oh, wow.
and of course Johnny Depp, which I'll discuss a bit more in depth later with A Nightmare on Elm Street.
In depth or depth?
Johnny Depp.
No.
Did I say depth?
No, I was just
Oh,
making
in depth.
I was making a joke.
Oh God, God, don't give up your day job, Harry.
Probably should.
But yeah, his debut Last House on the Left, back in 1972, which he wrote and directed, was basically mined on human cruelty and to fuel the horrific tale of teenage girls that they were abducted by deranged prisoners. And it basically shows you the evil that people can inflict on others. And again, with The Hills Have Eyes, that was another film that he did back in 1977.
Isn't that about like new people who
They're
messed up with radiation or something?
yeah, they're basically, it's so gross. They really are disgusting. Like The Hills Have Eyes was disgusting, which I'll talk about a bit later on.
Okay.
But basically, yeah, because he basically produced the remakes as well of The Hills Have Eyes and Last House on the Left. But yeah, when I watched The Hills Have Eyes, and I'd forgotten about the Last House on the Left, and then when I read about it, I was like, oh, I remember.
Didn't
And
someone's head get exploded by a microwave in the last house on the left?
I don't remember that now.
Oh.
I haven't seen it in a long time,
Oh, okay.
and I knew I wasn't going to rewatch it.
Okay.
Because that type of cruelty, I can't deal with it. And like there's certain scenes I remember watching The Hills Have Eyes, and I was like, no,
Yeah.
bit too much for me. The Last House on the Left was inspired by a 1960 European art film by Ingmar Bergman, The Virgin Spring. Again, I'm not going to go into detail because that one's pretty gross as well.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's pretty, yeah. His follow-up, The Hills of Eyes, was sourced in a mythic figure from the 15th century Scottish history, but also featured cannibal desert mutants, which is what you want to hear in everything. These films were brutal. So I know it sounds really weird, but if I found Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, a bit easier to watch, even though it was about child murders. It was, I don't know, there was just, I think the reason because on A Nightmare on Elm Street, you don't see that. You know what he did, but you don't see it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like the not that this makes it better. The people that he's doing stuff to, they're teenagers, but yeah, they look like they're in their 20s. And I'm not saying it's okay to go around killing people in their 20s, but it's a bit easier.
Yes.
Yeah, to watch. You don't have to see all the bad stuff that he did before. And one thing about his horror films is the locations. Like whenever you watch a horror film, like you were talking about The Quiet Place, it was in a forest. Like you even know yourself, we all go walking in forest, but there is a spookiness.
Oh yeah.
To walking in a forest, there's a spookiness to an old mansion. There's a spookiness to a dark location. But with Scream and A Nightmare on Elm Street, they're in these beautiful areas where lovely American dream, lovely houses out, the sun shining and all this kind of stuff. But they look like they're people of, they've got a few pound in their pocket.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, what can go wrong in the sense, because they have this like perfect lifestyle. So that's one thing that I think is different from a lot of horror films, because you're not spooked by the location. But another thing about Craven is, you can also give him credit for bringing back the horror genre, because when you think of Scream,
Yeah.
that kind of brought back a whole new
Revival.
a new revival. Like you had what was it called? I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, you know, all this kind of stuff kind of came back, and, you know, he used it in a really good way, and how, you know, a lot of these films, they kind of show a way they're trying to outdo the killer. Before. Do you know what I mean? It's like they're trying to outwit him type thing. You know, he reached a whole new level of success with these Scream films, and they won an MTV award in 1996, Best Movie Award, and it, you know, grossed over $100 million domestically, as did, you know, Scream 2 did well as well. Like, I've seen all the Scream films, and I actually do enjoy them all. You know, Craven on occasion did, you know, step away from horror. He did.
Really?
Yeah, he did Music of the Heart in 1999 with Meryl Streep, which...
Oh, I liked that.
Yeah, he did that, nominated for
nice.
Academy Award, and he also completed a novel, The Fountain Society. So he wasn't necessarily all about horror, but I think at the end of the day, when it comes to horror, you know, Wes Craven, people know who he is. You know, even the people that aren't into horror, people know who he is. So that's exactly. You know, Harry's holding up her hand there. You do know we're talking, they can't see me. But yeah, so I think that's one of the reasons I picked him, because people know who he is, and plus he's just great at what I just banged my hand. He's just great at what he does. So Inception, tell me a bit about Inception.
Okay. Well, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I picked this film because it's great, but, you know, I would have preferred to have talked about The Prestige, but I can't do that again because I've already done that.
I know, I want to talk about Silence of the Lambs, but I can't.
But I rate this as probably the best Nolan film to date so far.
Well, with this film, I don't know if I mentioned it before. I probably did, because I keep saying it. But yeah, the first time I watched it, I struggled big time. But I must admit, this time I went upstairs, got into bed with the intention of thinking, okay, I'm going to put it on and I'm going to do a bit of writing as I do it. No, I couldn't turn it on.
How did you first see it?
The first time?
Yeah.
I don't think it was at the cinema. I don't think it was at the cinema. No, it wasn't at the cinema. And I just remember thinking, what was that? I really did. But I don't think I watched it, because I think there's some films you have to watch. There's some films you put on. Yeah,
totally.
Like There Will Be Blood. No Country for Old Men. You have to watch them films. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas, you know,
I've not seen them all the way through. But
I will. Not seen what?
Them all the way through because of that fact. Because I haven't.
No, but had I not been in the mood for this, I wouldn't have been able to watch it. Do you know what I mean? But I
think all Nolan films are like
exactly. That. But this, I loved it. I thought it was. I loved it. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah. No, it's exceptional.
And I'm glad that you picked it so that I had to watch it again.
Oh, good.
Yes. Thank you, Harry.
No, the reason I ask where you watch it is because I watched it in the cinema, and I think if there's one director whose films you should pay for that cinema ticket for to see, it's Nolan. Yeah, because he probably wouldn't say this himself, but I think he'd just be like, you know, just enjoy the film. But you know, he goes to the effort in the production and everything, and I think he wants it to be a cinematic experience. Yeah, and this is what I had. I think it's one of the first times I've gone into the cinema and been blown away by a film before having seen it
at the cinema.
Because, you know, you're not allowed to talk. You know, you shouldn't really leave the cinema. It visually, you know, all the effort's gone in, sound's gone in, you know, it's all there. And I remember coming out of that cinema experience, I went to see it with my partner, and we came out and we looked at each other and we were like, that was epic.
No, I wish I had seen it at the cinema, actually, because I did.
And then
I did enjoy it.
But like you say, I've had to watch it. I think I've watched it about 10 times, and I'm like, so what's it about again?
It is one of those things, though. If someone said to me, "What's it about?" I'd be like, "Huh?"
I mean, like, I do know what it's about, but there's so much that I still miss.
I don't want to explain it.
Yeah,
I don't want because like you've picked it, and I'm like going, why did you pick that film?
Okay, so to give you a bit of a if you haven't seen this film, I'm not going to spoil a lot of it for you. I'll just give you a synopsis, but well, we probably will spoil it, but it's about in the essence of the film, it's about a professional thief called Dom Cobb, and he's played by Leonardo DiCaprio. And his job is to steal, is to infiltrate the subconscious and steal information. So get your head around that.
As you do.
As you do. That sounds like a good job to me. And it follows two plots. So you've got Dom Cobb's attempt to have his criminal past erased by doing a job where he implants an idea into a wealthy man's head. Again, as you do. And also his attempts to come to terms with the death/suicide of his late wife, Mal, played by Marion Cotillard.
I must admit.
Cotillard?
No, I must admit that I find that very sad, the whole...
Oh, it's
especially when he
heartbreaking.
kept on bringing the whole kid thing into it.
And that he can't see his... Yeah. But he's being blamed for the murder of his wife. So that's another part to the plot. It's very clever with the levels of this film. And there are actual subconscious levels to this film.
Oh, God.
Which is just like, it literally is mind-blowing. You sat there and like, okay, so whose subconscious am I in now? And okay, and which level of the subconscious am
I
in?
must say, when you watch this film, do not have any distractions. Do not think you're going to watch this film while washing up, while eating dinner. When you watch this film, just watch the film and do nothing else.
Concentrate.
Yeah.
Take
it needs that. That's all I can say.
But it's not necessarily. But that's the thing. It's not necessarily just about the storyline. I mean, like visually, it's stunning as well. I mean, that scene. There's a scene where they're trying to get. I think her name's Ariadne, which is the character of Ellen Page, played by Ellen Page.
Oh, I love her in it. By the way,
I don't like her.
No,
in
I
it.
do.
She's my one. Why do you employ her?
I do like her in it.
I like her normally, but in this...
No, I like her.
Okay, right. But yeah, when he's tried to get her into the team and he's explaining the whole, subconscious...
Concept,
and it's incredible what they do with the visuals there, with Paris sort of curling in on itself and everything. And that's another thing that sort of blew my mind. And I wonder what his drawings are like for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You want to see them?
I really do. I hope one day they do like a museum exhibition of it all. I'd definitely go and see that. So it's very clever and original. And then I've written in my notes here, it's like we peel back the onion. We peel back the onion on a lot of the characters, but mainly about Dom and Mal. In this, you just see. I mean, it's very original. But what I like about it as well is you see homages to other films. So you can see that he's had a heavy influence of Bond films in it. So there's an area of the film where they're in a sort of snowy. Yeah. Well, actually, there's more references to Bond throughout it. And
how would you feel about him directing a Bond film? Do you think he could do it?
I don't think it's time.
Oh, okay.
No, I just... Only because...
She'll let you know, Christopher, when it's time.
No, only because I think Bond's moving into a different...
Is Daniel Craig even going to be the next Bond?
Yeah, he is.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's doing the 25th one. And Danny Boyle's doing that. And I just think...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that.
But I think Sam Mendes, who is also a director who I rate highly, I think he did such a fantastic job with Skyfall.
Yeah.
And I think Spectre...
Skyfall.
Such a good tune as well. I love that.
Sorry.
Well, you're ruining it. But, with regards to that, I think it needs to do a new kind of season. Almost. And I wonder if Danny Boyle's going to do sort of an homage to the older ones, a bit like Sam Mendes did with Spectre. Do you know what I mean? He put those elements in. Yeah. And I think Boyle's going to do that. And then I think come back with the grittier, more intense.
But will it be better than Moonraker?
Any Bond film.
Sorry, Luke. I don't want to meet Luke because he's just going to be mad at me for saying Moonraker's great.
Yeah, it's going to be brought up. Yeah. So Nolan originally pitched this film to Warner Brothers before the Batman trilogy, and he put it out there as a sort of horror about dream stealers. But they
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
But they weren't keen on that.
Stealers.
Well, it's kind of what they do,
It's a bit like A Nightmare on Elm Street.
a little bit, yeah.
Ooh.
But maybe better.
It's a different film, Harry.
Yeah, exactly. But Warner Brothers weren't keen on this, and so he kind of pitched. I believe he pitched the idea of his versions of the Batman films instead. So behind the scenes, he quietly brewed on the Inception idea, whilst making Batman Begins, and then he decided to make it a kind of heist movie. Which again, it is. It's just got so many elements to it. It's just great.
Yeah.
And then so for that they thought, okay, we're going to need some exposition with a femme fatale kind of character, which you kind of get in the Bond films and then the heist films, and that's where Mal came into it.
Yeah, because she's very Bond-esque. Yeah.
God, she plays her so well.
Yeah,
Marion,
she does.
She's great at that cold woman.
The
kind
bit
of...
where they're in the room and the lift. The old-fashioned lifts where you pull.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That was a bit scary.
No, it's dark.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. When they're in the yeah, scary stuff.
Scary stuff. And this film, rightly so, won 4 Oscars.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. For the cinematography, right on. Best sound editing, right on. Best mixing. And best visual effects.
Yes.
What I like about the film as well is you're never quite sure. I mean, it is explained to you, but at the same time, you kind of have to stop and think and like, whoa, which world
is this real or not?
Is this real or not?
I agree, 100%.
It's all within these interconnected kind of dream worlds.
That's what I mean by you need to watch this film and not have any distractions. So don't plan on doing it. If you're going to watch this film, just that's your only task is to watch it.
Yeah,
because you can't have it. I think that's the reason. Maybe last time probably I was doing other stuff, whereas this time that was my own my only focus was the film. I think that's why I understood it a bit better.
But isn't that great? I mean, isn't that a testament to him that he's like, no, I'm not going to be a background film dude. Yeah, I'm going to make a film.
Yeah, because there are some films that you can put on in the background and you can walk away for 10 minutes and come back and know what's happening.
Yeah,
but with this film, which is sometimes I need a background film that I can put on and do nothing. We all need that. But sometimes I want to watch something that makes me go, pause it, I need to run for a pee. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is what that film does.
Yeah. All his films do that, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, even with the Batman ones, I'm like...
I did love The Dark Knight.
It's very good. As we mentioned earlier, like, Nolan returns to using the same actor. He hasn't done so with Leonardo DiCaprio, but I imagine he will again. But you've got Cillian Murphy in this, and it's a side note really. But what's interesting is that Cillian doesn't really have like major parts in his films. He's always sort of a side actor. Yeah. But I think that's again a testament to Nolan because I think from interviews with Cillian Murphy, he's an intelligent guy, and I reckon he's just like, I don't care, this guy.
And he's a good actor though, Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, he's fantastic. But I think that's the case with a lot of these actors, like Tom Hardy as well. He in Dunkirk, you only see his eyes, like for the majority of it, but they all know they are in something that's well crafted, in every sense, from the writing, from the production, from the even the camera used. And that's another thing about Christopher Nolan that I learned is that he doesn't shoot in digital. It's all film.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I'm just going to go on to, I think, my favourite scene of the entire thing, which is the one where Arthur, who's played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, is in, I think he's in the 3rd level of subconscious as they're trying to steal Cillian Murphy's thing.
Loved this scene when he's kind of dancing around the hallway.
He's having a fight scene and the hallway's moving.
Choreographed so well and so different to anything I've ever seen. I just thought it was brilliant. Yeah, I loved that scene.
Innovative filmmaking there.
Yeah. I thought that was really good.
And I read, and I don't know if it's correct, but I read that they were the only at the time film crew to go up I think this is a myth actually, where they went up in a plane and like filmed some of it in zero gravity, but I think that could potentially be bullshit. But
I don't know.
it would be interesting to find out if that's true or not.
Yeah.
'Cause that's cool as well.
No, but it was a great scene.
Yeah,
great scene.
really good. And again, the ending. What are your thoughts on the ending? Do you think he is in the real world, or?
Do you know what? I've chosen to believe he is.
Yes, and me.
I
think
do
it's
agree.
great.
But I think sometimes that's good with a film when it kind of gives you an ending and you kind of decide on the ending.
Because he said that. Nolan says I'm not going to
Yeah.
say that's
Yeah.
for the viewer, and I
Yeah.
like that because you give and he does that with a few of his films. He gives his viewer the opportunity to decide.
I've decided myself.
So yeah, I mean, I could go on. I could wax lyrical about this film for a long time. But that is Inception. Hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
And I'm glad. I genuinely, when you text me saying, I've just watched it again, what a great film.
Yeah.
I kind of fist bumped the air. I was like, yeah.
No, I really enjoyed it.
Good. So if you haven't watched it, I don't think we spoiled too much. But go and watch it because it's fantastic. Right then. Oh yeah. I'm actually excited to talk about this one.
Scream. Great film. So, I'm going to now discuss Scream. Yeah, that's exactly what they sound like when they do Scream. So I'm going to talk about the movie, not the TV series, because there is one on Netflix. But the Scream film back in 1996 was put out by Dimension Films. You probably know the symbol as it comes across, which was owned by the Weinstein Company. No, so you've got a very young Courtney Cox, Neve Campbell, David Arquette, Liev Schreiber, who you may know from Ray Donovan. And Courtney Cox, herself, she had to actually fight for this role.
Is Liev Schreiber in the first one or the second one?
First, he's Cotton Weary. He's basically the guy that's accused of murdering Sydney Prescott's mother, who's played by Neve Campbell. Yeah. Courtney Cox, as you can imagine, 1996 was Friends. And you would not think of Courtney Cox's character Monica as Gail Weathers.
No, it was quite a jump, wasn't it?
Yeah, because she's really unpleasant in this film. But yeah, so Scream was directed by Wes Craven, but it was written by Kevin Williamson. Kevin Williamson wrote things like Dawson's Creek, The Following, which is a great TV show, really, but it got cancelled, about serial killers, and The Vampire Diaries. I've never seen The Vampire Diaries.
I have. I watched it all.
Is it good?
Yes, it is good. I don't like the way the vampires are in it.
Those pesky vampires, up to no good.
I was a bit taken aback by the Vampire Diaries because it's actually quite dark.
Oh, is it?
And you've actually highlighted that. That kind of makes sense because I've never looked into why. But yeah, it's a good show. Actually, it's not. I mean, it is slightly Twilighty, but at the same time, it's not. It's quite dark and earthy.
Yeah,
I think you might like it.
Okay. I might have a look. So Williamson, he kind of, if you look at a lot of his stuff, it's very teeny horror kind of stuff, and Scream is basically a combination of both. And apparently Williamson is apparently meant to have got his idea from a serial killer called Danny Rowland, who murdered 5 students in Florida. So everyone has to take their ideas from somewhere.
You said that and looked at me in such a creepy way, dude.
Oh, that's always nice to hear.
I'm staying at her house tonight. So.
No, she may not stay again. So for any of you who kind of watched Scream, around that time, as I said before, it kind of gave this all these other films kind of came out of it. Like I said, Know What I Did Last Summer, Urban Legend, The Faculty, others, and then obviously the TV show Scream came from that.
I have to say, I get, as I said earlier, I'm not massively into that kind of horror, like this, because it's a slasher kind of horror, isn't it? I wasn't into those, but Scream genuinely fucked me up when I was younger.
I suppose 1996. Yeah,
I was quite young.
Yeah, because in 1996 I was
9,
22. I'm going to make her edit that bit out.
99. Yeah, I was 9.
I was 22. Fuck. God, I'm old.
No, you're not. But I don't think I saw it when I was 9. I think I saw it a little bit on later on. But it's the way that they moved, you know, the shaky head thing. Because they moved like... Yeah, they
You're on about Ghostface?
Yeah, Ghostface. Yeah, it freaked me out massively. Yeah.
So back to Scream.
Sorry. That
Yeah. Harry's insight. So again, the Weinstein Company had this script, and they wanted Craven on board, who passed it back and forth, but then he ended up going with it. So basically, for those of you who don't know, Scream is basically about a film about a killer known as Ghostface, who we just said, who comes back to basically terrorize the town of Westboro a year after the murder of the main character, Sydney, who's played by Neve Campbell. His mother is murdered. And it all starts off with basically phone calls, and you're asked a series of questions. So I think one of the good things about this film is at the start of it, you had Drew Barrymore, who was called. And Drew Barrymore is a huge star. So everyone thinks, Drew Barrymore, that's who's going to be in the film. Drew Barrymore is dead within minutes of this film. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things as well with Drew Barrymore. That's one of the reasons that because I think she was asked to play the role of Sydney, but she said, no, let me do this because people don't expect me to die.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so they're asking all these questions about serial killers and horror films. Give me the answer. And, she ends up being brutally murdered, but nobody expects it because it's Drew Barrymore. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's something that's quite different about this film is the big star is dead within seconds.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's like when you watch a film now, if you're watching like The Walking Dead or, someone like that, you don't expect Rick Grimes, the main character, to be killed. So if he was killed, you'd be like, what the fuck?
So it's like when Ned Stark
exactly.
died,
So when like Game of Thrones, when Ned Stark dies. So I think that's one good thing about this. It kind of gets everyone kind of going up on their toes. Shit. I think the good thing about doing something like that is Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, no one's safe. So I think if you kill a big star or a big part, no one's safe. So basically, it's all about this killer or killers, should I say, Ghostface, terrorizing everybody of Westboro, and phoning them up, asking them stupid questions, and basically how they answer those questions, they could die or they're just killed in other forms. So I think in this film as well, like Craven himself, he makes a homage to his own films. Like, do you know what I mean? So you've got John Carpenter's Halloween, where Laurie tells Tommy, I want you to go down to the Mackenzie's house. In Casey's case, Drew Barrymore's character, Dad says the same thing to his wife. In Psycho, Anthony Perkins, we all go a little mad sometimes, which is the line that Skeet Ulrich's character says in the film. They use when the killers are actually faking their own deaths, they use Cornblood, Carrie. Nightmare on Elm Street is actually referenced itself, and the fact that the janitor is called Fred wearing a Nightmare on Elm Street jumper. So there's all these things that he brings in into the film that either represents what he does or takes the piss out of horror films. So it is. And a lot of the people in the actual film are horror fans themselves. Do you know what I mean? So he kind of gets the whole horror genre in it in every way he can. So he brings in like all these rules, as in never have sex, don't drink, and under no circumstances say, I'll be back, I'll be right back. Which is one thing that everybody says. Teenagers want to be drinking, they want to be having sex, and when you're off somewhere, you're like, I'll be right back. So, there are things that they say you shouldn't do in horror films, yet everyone does it.
Yeah.
In this film, it's quite comical though, because like you're seeing when you watch these films, I know they do end up killing people, but the killers seem, even in Krueger, they seem so incompetent sometimes.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
do you know what I mean? And I think that's one thing, and it's usually a female that's making them look that way, which is something I like. But
I think though that also adds to, because you suddenly realise this is a human, this isn't some monster, this is some fucked up guy who's behind
Yeah.
a mask and he has got an intent to kill me. And I think
Yeah.
that makes it somewhat scarier.
Yeah.
Because you're like, he's a man.
Yeah.
Or a woman, you know, but that, you know, that even though you kind of see that they've got a vulnerable side, at the same
Yeah.
time you're like, it's not just some magical demon I can put a spell on in like certain films, you know what I mean? They're like,
Yeah.
it's a human realistic sort of situation.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that's one thing, like I suppose that's the difference between this and Kruger. It's like he's not real. He was real, but he's not real anymore. But with this film, yeah, they're very much there and nobody knows who they are. So I think the whole way through it, everyone's a suspect. As Randy's character says, everyone's a suspect.
Do you know what though? Something happened to me in the cinema the other day when I went to see A Quiet Place. There was a trailer for a film called The Strangers 2. And I think perhaps this started with Scream. I don't know if there was a film before it that started it, but there's someone in a mask, and the mask that the ghost face or whatever is genuinely terrifying, and this film was genuinely terrifying. But as an adult now, watching the Strangers 2 thing, and these people are in these masks, and they're like, ooh, you know, I turned around to my friend Adam, who I went to see the film with, and I said, I'd tell that person to fuck off because I know that they're real. It just didn't scare me whatsoever. I was just like, you're a sad loser in a mask. If you're going to point a knife at me, I'll point a knife at you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with Scream, that was the beginning of all that. It was the seed of it. It was the original one, and you appreciate it for that. And I'd still say Scream is 10 times more terrifying than those films that try to mimic it now.
Definitely.
And that's the power of it. I mean, I'm not, a horror fan, but with Scream, I can even say that, like, it had an impact in that way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, definitely, 100%. I think with Scream, like other films, you don't necessarily rely on just dialogue. I think you need the sound of other things. So, like, for instance, whenever you watch this film, before the title of Dimensions films come up out of the darkness, you hear like a door banging, a crash, and the title of the movie, a phone ring, and heartbeat screams, knife slicing. So you're kind of like already like, what is happening here? It's not just like some nice pretty music with the credits, and then it cuts into Drew Barrymore answering a phone, and at the start it's all very pleasant, she's chatting away about films, popcorn is going, she's playing with knives, just kind of up and down, pulling up a set of knives, and
all suggestive.
Then within minutes she discusses, they talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street and how she says A Nightmare on Elm Street is good, but basically the rest of them sucked, because, as I said, he directed the first one, he didn't direct the rest of them. And the creepy noises continue, dramatic music, doorbells ringing, and it basically sets you up. So instantly, with this title Dimension films coming up, you've had all these sounds and instantly screaming and banging and knives and all that kind of stuff, and you're like, what's going on? And then it carries on into this disgusting, scary thing with Drew Barrymore and her partner being brutally murdered. So I think one thing about horror films is that you cannot solely rely on dialogue, because sometimes, as you said, we're watching The Quiet Place, it's the silence that is scary. Like, do you know what I mean? So I think this film, with the use of no dialogue, kind of sets you up for what you're, for the scare.
Yeah, I think something I really appreciated about these films is the way that you see him or Ghostface or whatever appear in the background, but they don't. So but they don't, and you're just like, oh God, come on, you've got to realise he's there, and it's just
because there's I think there's one scene. It's in Sidney Prescott's character and Tatum. They go to the supermarket to get some ice cream or something, because they're going to a party, and he's just in the supermarket. They close the door and he's just, you just see him there, and I'm like, he's in the supermarket. Does nobody notice? It's
No.
things. It's moments like that. You're like, like
But isn't it in sort of the opening scene with Drew Barrymore? He's by the pool or something, and
Yeah.
But outside the window.
Yeah.
I can't quite remember, but I remember that freaked me out.
when he sat at the pool, they're like, yeah, your boyfriend's, out here. Yeah. And no, that's creepy. But I think that's creepy. She's out kind of in the middle of nowhere and she's on the phone and, she talks about the boyfriend a lot. So that something's going to happen with the boyfriend.
Yeah.
Because she kind of, he's big and he plays football and he's going to kick the shit. This type of thing. Also with Craven, he does use... he's very clever in the way he uses his shots, because when like Sydney's on the phone, she just basically thinks her friends are messing with her, so she's kind of just chatting away. He's all up close and personal, and then she realizes by something that the killer says that it's not her friends messing, it is the actual killer, and the look of terror on her face, and you can kind of relate to the fact that, you think someone's pranking you. No, you're screwed here, basically. And, I think the way he does that with her, and then that leads into the whole her running upstairs and everything type thing, is very clever. One other thing I think this film does very well is how the media treat a certain situation. Because this turns into a fucking circus, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Everyone is like shoving things in her face. They're dragging up every story, and they're shouting in her face, and people have a right to know, and all this kind of stuff. Like, do you know what I mean? And they say one thing. It's like, now we can only wait and wonder who will be next.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like setting everyone up to be absolutely terrified. So, I think from that point of view, it's like, if we see stuff going on in our area, we're going to be scared anyway. We don't need someone going, you could be the next person that's killed. Do you know what I mean? So I think they do that quite well. And like, even one reporter shouts out to her, how does it feel to be almost brutally butchered?
It's insane.
Yeah, you shouldn't say stuff like that. And we come across that people, they don't really have much compassion, like when it comes to Sydney.
Yeah.
And all they're interested in is the whole story about, her mother that was murdered, and the whole cotton weary. It's Courtney Cox's character, Gail Weathers, who is such a bitch in this.
What a name.
It's a great name. Far cry from Monica. She thinks about how she can see that Sydney's kind of going, oh, maybe he didn't do this, and she's like going about, how, I can free this guy on death row. Do you know what that'd do for my book sales?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's just constantly, when it comes to the media, it's just constantly about what can they get out of it, which is what we see every day. And another thing, as we discussed, like when, you were asked by one of our listeners why, you're not a big fan of horror. You were saying you're not a fan of the whole gore fest thing. And I think that's one thing about Scream is it's not a gore fest.
No,
you just really kind of kept on your toes a bit. It's a bit scary.
It's intense.
There is some blood,
tense.
And you because you don't know who it is for ages. Like, do you know what I mean? You really don't, but it's someone that they know. But yeah, so overall, I think this film it's funny, it's scary, it's got a bit of gore, it's extremely clever, and it mocks the horror film, but it does it in a way that doesn't make you think that this film's a joke. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I definitely recommend the Scream franchise as one to watch.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more familiar with Scream 2 than I am with Scream 1.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then I haven't watched any of the others after that. How many are there?
4.
4?
Is it 5 now? 4.
Wow.
Yeah, Emma Roberts is in the last one, actually.
Is she really?
Yeah.
That's funny. Cool. Yeah, no, I of horror movies, that's one I actually enjoy.
You can watch,
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay, so I've now discussed the amazing film by Wes Craven called Scream, and you can just toddle on about your Dunkirk.
I'll toddle on about that. Okay, so Dunkirk is a Christopher Nolan film, and it was made in it came out in 2017 under the Warner Brothers,
Starring Harry Styles.
mildly. But yeah, do you know what? He's not bad in this.
Yeah.
I was really impressed because I thought, why has he done this? Like Nolan, why has he, got one of the biggest pop stars?
But
in
if
the
he's
world?
good, then what's the harm?
He was fine, and I didn't. For the first 2 seconds, I was like, "Whoa, here's Harry Styles," and then I was just like, "Oh, he's that character," I just didn't. Anyway, so it was produced through Syncope Films, which, as I've explained earlier, is Nolan and Emma Thompson's company.
Oh, right, okay. Because I'll be honest with you, when I read that, I was like, okay, Nolan, okay. I didn't know what you meant, but I'm glad that you've explained it.
Lorraine's referring to our show notes.
I could have just asked you, but...
So, this is a film, and I've come across this topic before, but this is a film in which I was very glad that I saw it in an IMAX cinema viewing.
Okay.
And it was just a sensational experience, and by that I mean that in every sense, through the sound, through the visuals. It was epic, and it also was uncomfortable.
Okay.
Because and I don't know if you know much, if you've watched bits of Dunkirk or whatever, but the score by Hans Zimmer. A lot of the film plays with time, as all his films do, but it's just like there's a heartbeat to it in the clock kind of built sense, and you're sat there, and then it just like builds into a crescendo, and you're just like, and in the cinema it's just so loud. I mean, some people will be like, well, it's just a bit too loud for me, and one of those people is Alec Dudley. It was a sensory experience to the extreme, and I appreciated it for that because it helped with the storytelling. So I've spoken to people who've watched this at home, and I'm
one of them. Sorry,
yeah, I just clicked, and they didn't have quite the same experience because they didn't have that auditory or audible blah, 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 in intenseness. And I think that's moving on to a slightly different subject now, but that's something that's I'm really beginning to notice as a movie appreciator. So those films that I've seen at the cinema, I've enjoyed 10 times more than those films.
No, I agree with that. Like, there's certain films that I think that you need to see at the cinema, and when you do appreciate them a lot more.
And I think Nolan makes those films.
Yeah.
I mean, you can certainly appreciate them at home, but I think in the original sense, they should be viewed in the cinematic, big scope.
Definitely.
Format. So that actually brings me onto another subject, and I forgot to mention it, shamefully, in my recent watches, but I've watched Annihilation recently.
Is that any good?
It's really good. It's not really good.
That's on Netflix, is it?
Yeah, on Netflix. So that's Paramount Pictures film, and that's directed by Alex Garland, and that stars Natalie Portman, and it's about
Natalie Portman, yeah,
and
I love her.
Very good. But there's been this whole debate whether it should have been put on Netflix over here because it was screened in cinemas over in America, but they're like, well, why haven't they done it in Europe and blah blah. But and I, looking at it, that's one that should have been screened at the cinema.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's just a shame that certain. I mean, I love Netflix and I think it's great for what it's doing, but there are certain films which should go out there, and I think these cinemas need to take that risk. Sorry, these studios need to take that risk.
But I think that's the problem, isn't it? It's like Netflix are doing like their Netflix Zone and all this kind of stuff, a film made for Netflix, and you don't get to see it at the cinema, which, as you're rightly saying, some of them you probably
should. Yeah. But watch Annihilation.
Okay, no, I've been thinking about it because I seen Natalie Portman. I love Natalie Portman.
That haunted me, that film.
Really? Oh, I'm going to watch it then.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to watch it. So Dunkirk didn't really get a synopsis with it in its marketing, which I think was really clever, which again encouraged people to kind of go to the cinema and see what it was about. You obviously knew it was about,
Yeah.
you know, the evacuation of Dunkirk and, you know, World War II, but you didn't get a sense of character. You know, none of the characters were explained. You know the basic story, but a storyline wasn't explained, and I found that intriguing. And again, that's why I was like, I've got to see this at the cinema. I want to know what's going on. And in terms of marketing and whether Nolan had a hand in that, I don't know, but I believe he would have. And again, that was clever. I thought clever filmmaking, clever marketing. But I have to say, first and foremost, that Dunkirk isn't a remake of the 1958 Leslie Norman film that features John Mills. And I have had this discussion with people.
Do they think it is?
Well, they're just like, well, it's not like the original Dunkirk. No, it's not. It's not about. It's not a remake. Okay, it's about the same evacuation. It's about the same period in history, but it is not a remake of a film that's already been made. Okay. It is of its own standing.
Yeah.
So it does cover the evacuation of Dunkirk in World War II, and you are told about, you know, what happened with the soldiers, with other characters such as civilians who helped with the evacuation. It's great because what it does is it gives you a fresh experience of a notable story, you know.
Yeah.
But it gives you a fresh take on the different angles of different people's experiences throughout it.
Yeah.
So in this movie, it portrays the evacuation from 3 points of view. So you've got land, sea, and air.
Can I just say something?
Yeah.
When I seen there was a scene in the sea, and the ship was like overturned, and they were all like being crashed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scared the shit out of me, and it kind of brought me back to, you know, the Jaws moment of our last episode.
It's terrifying
with the whole sea thing. The sea should be seen from the beach. You should not go into this. I'm terrified of the ocean. But no, when I seen that and I seen the way they were crashing up and everything, it was, oh my God, it was terrifying.
I tell you what terrified me most, and this is a bit of a spoiler, but there's this bit on the Dunkirk beach where Harry Styles' character, I can't rightly remember if they're given names, the characters, but you've got the character played by Finn, that actor. the
Finn fella.
The Finn fella. And he's a Welsh actor. I'm terrible at it. I'll put these names in afterwards in the post. Anyway, there's these three guys, and they've just managed to survive one of the boats that was going, being bombed and sinking. So they're back on the beach, and the tide's out.
Yeah.
And there's a boat, and it's just sort of leaning, and they're like, okay, we'll get in that, and when the tide comes in, we'll go off on that boat. And there's a sniper, a Nazi sniper somewhere. So they're in the boat, and it's bloody terrifying. And then, gradually the sea's coming in, so there's holes in this boat, and it's just right. But things like this happened,
I know,
and
but
that's
I don't want to think about it.
No, but that's terrifying, and he does, and it's just done so well. You're just dreading it because nobody knows what happened to every single soldier.
No.
And that's the thing about this film. You don't know their names, you don't know their past, you don't know their future, and you're just sat there.
Oh, there's so many people that's the case with.
That's it, and it's terrifying, and it's so, and it's you're really submerged in that that scenario. So go back to that. You see this war, this evacuation from 3 points of view: land, sea, and air, and they're during different time frames. So you've got land from a week, you've got sea from a day, and you've got the air from an hour.
Okay.
And they all come to a crescendo into the same moment of the evacuation, and it's this sense of time, this sense of urgency that's constantly on your mind, which is again emphasised by Hans Zimmer's score. This tick, 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 tick. And fun fact, apparently Christopher Nolan recorded the ticking on his watch, sent it to Hans Zimmer, and was like, I want that sound, and that's how it all goes.
Oh, right, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and again, I felt really tense in A Quiet Place, but I would say I was probably equally as tense in Dunkirk, listening to that score, like going, are they going to make it out? Are they going to make it out? Are they going to make it out? They made it out, okay. On to the next one. Are they going to make it out? Are they going to make it out? Oh, God, on to the next one. And it's like that. And there's minimal dialogue. Again, a bit like A Quiet Place, there's minimal dialogue. You don't need it. It's all about the situation. The visual, the situation, how, and it's just so well put together. And I've never seen a film like it. I hadn't seen a film like it. I will put that out there.
Okay.
And I highly recommend that people, again, turn off your social media.
It's a film to watch.
Put the sound up to max. Dark room. Zone in.
It's not a background film.
It's not a background film. Embrace it.
I must admit, though, with these films, I struggle with war films.
No,
because you know that these things have happened, and I think that's why I rarely watch war films. I must admit, I don't. It is not because I don't like them. It's just I find them a bit too. Because I've met, like, my granny's partner and stuff like that. I've met people that have gone through this type of stuff, and it's just so. It's sad to see it because people that have experienced it, and you haven't a clue what they've experienced. You have like 1% of 1% of what they've experienced, and I think when you watch these, I just find them very upsetting. So I don't really watch horror films that often, if I'm honest with you.
I completely get that, but I appreciate them for that fact. That
I know. I think that's me being a chicken.
But they bring reality into focus sometimes when fortunately, sometimes you just want to turn the news off. You want to be ignorant, and sometimes it takes.
That's exactly it. You want to fucking turn it off and be ignorant.
But it takes things like this to sort of pull you out a bit. Like, no, I need to.
Yeah. No. Actually, that's a really good way of putting it. I must admit.
But another. We'll move on to the next film shortly. But another thing about this is that I just love the fact that you don't see an outsider's perspective. You don't see some men in a war room planning the evacuation. It's about the people who were in the moment. Yeah. And that's it. It's a film that's in the moment completely, but in different time zones. And it all comes to one head, and it's fantastic. End.
God.
Did I make you?
Sounds like a hard watch, but a good watch.
It's a very good watch. Yes.
So I'm going to bring it down a tone and talk about A Nightmare on Elm Street.
All right.
A film that's easy to watch. One for the family.
Oh, really?
Not really.
Hit me.
Okay, this isn't about war. It's a different kind of war. Dream wars. So
we could do that film.
Oh.
Wow.
I think we should.
That's an idea. Yeah. Okay.
So this film is way back in 1984 when Harry wasn't even born.
No, it wasn't.
Nor was I. Maybe I was 10, but maybe I wasn't born. Who knows? So apparently, I didn't know this. I only found this on researching it. But apparently, Nightmare on Elm Street comes from a string of unexplained deaths in a bunch of young, healthy people back in the 1970s. And they died in their sleep with no reason why. No one could figure it out.
That is freaky.
Yeah, exactly. And, it was, every death was unexplained. So this is where the idea of it came from. And, in his previous films, they were based on like groups of maniacs attacking families and stuff. But in Freddy, he changed the way he was writing and basically did unexplained deaths. Because apart from the people that were actually in the dreams or knew what was going on, nobody could explain it. Even though what happened and how they died was, that's not fucking dying in your dreams. Dying in your sleep is someone walks into your room and you're just lying there. Your room isn't plastered in blood. You know what I mean? So
Know what you mean?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Know what I mean, governor? Yeah, so basically, Nightmare on Elm Street, it launched a huge successful franchise. I mean, I think they're still making them to this day.
Really?
Yeah, there was one, maybe it was 2010. I don't know. I didn't see it, but yeah, they're still kind of going. And I think I may be wrong here. I may have imagined it, but I think they're doing some sort of TV series about Nightmare on Elm Street.
How do you feel about that?
I'd give it a go because I'd be interested, but I don't know whether that's actually happening or I made it up in my own head. Who knows? But as I said, Craven had very little to do with all the sequels apart from 3. But he did return in 1994 with Freddy Krueger in The New Nightmare. And I must again say the second one is truly awful. The second Nightmare on Elm Street is disastrous. One thing about Elm Street is we can see it did have a lot of influences in other things, especially in something we discussed in episode 3, Stranger Things. You can definitely see it in there.
Where?
With the whole kind of, especially one thing where you can see it is the whole Nancy thing. There's this one scene, especially like when you hear the name Nancy being mentioned, especially in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, it's like this Nancy, but it's not the way, it's not just going Nancy, it's kind of Nancy like this. And the character in Stranger Things is Nancy, and she's with Steve, but she's the only one that hears it, so she's being called.
Oh, when Barbara.
Yeah, when Barbara's crying. But when in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Patricia Arquette's character is calling Nancy, and she's trying to pull her into her dreams.
Patricia Arquette.
Yeah, so she's trying to pull Nancy into her dreams to help her, and you can hear it in the same way as Barb is trying to call Nancy from Stranger Things. So yeah, and I think, you know, with Freddy, he kind of was this whole new way of horror films in the sense that with this film, you never knew what was real and what was a dream. Because like you're watching this film and you're like, you know, because you kind of think to yourself, what happens in a dream?
Like Inception.
Yeah, what happens in a dream stays in a dream. It's not real.
What happens in a dream stays.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Yeah, but you know, unfortunately, in the dream, unfortunately, came out into real life. Yeah, so you know, the dream became reality in a sense. Like, do you know what I mean? So I suppose, in a sense, like you said in Inception, the end.
You're just not sure.
Is that a dream or is that reality? You know, you just don't know. But I think with Freddy, he is a very intelligent character. He's very, 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 very sarcastic.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he is.
I like me a sarcastic character.
Yeah, he is. And he's very aware of his victims, and he definitely knows what to do with them. He toys with them. To him, basically, when you watch him, he's like a giant child. You know what I mean? And it's this some massive game to him. He doesn't just go straight for the kill. Do you know what I mean? He kind of plays with them a little bit. And you know, Craven, in a sense, he likes to put his audience in great suspense, which he did with Drew Barrymore killing her off. And that's what he does in this film. Is like sometimes you think something's going to happen and it doesn't.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So you're sitting there and you go, yeah, someone's about to be... No.
Toys with you.
Yeah, he does. He toys with you. Like, do you know what I mean? So that's what I like. It's like the kill isn't always obvious. So sometimes when it happens, you're not expecting it to happen. And, you know, you're just like waiting for it and nothing happens. Like, do you know what I mean? And I think that's what's good, because you don't want the obvious, because then it's not a scare. Yeah. If you're expecting it, it's not a scare. And you know, the whole thing with Elm Street is it's just like, it's a, like with Inception, I suppose, to the extent. So for people that have been asking what's the comparison, maybe there's a slight comparison here.
Found it, Lorraine.
We found the fucking comparison, people. So, you know, hop back into your chair there, Mr. and Mrs. So yeah, so there, like, in the sense, there is a blurred line between what is real and what is the nightmare. And this is what builds up within the audience, and they cannot figure out, is this real? Is this not real? You know, and I think Craven, like Nolan, does that really well. So basically, as we discussed in our last episode with Tim Burton, there was a huge influence in German Expressionism. And you get that with this film, and the use of dream sequences and the use of makeup, costumes, and all the use of oblique camera angles. And of course, shadows. there's a lot of that within this film. So you can see that there's a lot of influence within this film, as we see in Tim Burton films. So I suppose I should have probably discussed the plot.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
So basically, the plot of Nightmare on Elm Street is Robert Englund, who plays Freddy Krueger, who my brother met, by the way, at Comic-Con.
No way. Oh, yeah, you
Yeah,
mentioned
and
it,
basically, apparently everyone he met, he asked them what way did they want to be killed, and he would have the glove and he'd pretend to kill them.
So what did your brother say?
I think he's kind of hovering over my brother. I'll get the picture and I'll put it up on our Instagram page.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I think it's already up on our
we
Instagram
should
page,
put
but
your
I will
Sigourney one up as well.
yeah, that's up too, but I will post them. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, basically, Freddy Krueger is a child murderer. Apparently, he was meant to be a child molester / murderer, but they changed it because, you know, murderer is fine, but not molester, apparently. Yeah, so this film is all about the supernatural killer, and he attacks his victims in the dreams, and these dreams are known as pattern nightmares. Pattern nightmares, yeah. Which basically means, you know, if it happens in your dream, you could die. Yeah, exactly. It's quite scary. So, you know, for anyone who doesn't know what the Freddy Krueger character looks like, he's basically burnt all over because the parents had done that to him. Yeah, so basically he was this person who did all these terrible things. All these parents killed him, and now as a result, he's coming back to kill their children. And that's like his revenge, but within their dreams.
The parents of the people that he killed.
Yeah, so all the kids within this film that he kills, so, you know, all the Johnny Depp and all that kind of stuff, his parents, all the parents, they basically killed him.
Oh.
And they burnt him for doing what he did.
Yeah.
And his revenge is coming back. They're the Elm Street kids, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so basically, he wears this green and red jumper, the hat. So, you know, he's got a lot of things that people would recognize him for.
Iconic stuff.
Yeah, iconic stuff, yeah. It was also a film that gave Johnny Depp his first role. The reason that Johnny Depp got this role was because basically Wes Craven's daughter took a shining to him and said, you know, hire him, he's cute as hell and people will love him, which, you know, we look at Johnny Depp today, he's had a exceptional career, so basically you can maybe thank her for that. Again, in this film, like in Scream, you've got a huge female character who basically isn't a pussy. She is completely badass in this, and she takes Freddy on to the point where she goes looking for him. So he's doing all this bad shit. He's killed her friends, so she's going to take him on.
How old is she?
She's like 15 in this film, and there's this really funny scene in it where she's like looking at herself and she goes, "Oh my god, I've got so old. I look like I'm almost 20." I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, really? You should say like I look like I'm like 120, not 20. But yeah, so she's like the epitome of like badass in it. So, you know, while he's a scary character, she's like not having it. She's going for him.
Good on her.
So she purposely falls asleep to get him. She's going to pull him out of her dream, and she turns her house into this like Home Alone moment of traps to get him. You know, so, you know, again, it's another example of, you know, the female being the strong lead, not the damsel in distress lead.
The Ripley.
Yeah, the Ripley or the Linda Hamilton thing. But yeah, and again, this is it's a film that I've seen multiple times, and you know, it still makes me jump. So yeah, basically, it's just a really good horror film. I think it's better than Scream, personally. Do you know what I mean? I think it's a lot more original because, you know, maybe, you know, someone can correct me here, but I don't really know of any films that do what he did with regards to putting someone in the dream world.
Okay.
And I mean, I know Nolan's done it, but I mean back here, you know, to the point where you can pull him out. So they're able to pull him out into reality, you know, to kill him. So to kill him, they can't kill him in the dream world. They have to pull him out. Like, you know, so I think...
Do they end him?
No, because... Well, they do, but they don't. Do you know what I mean? So so the whole thing is nobody believes her. The problem is nobody believes her what's going on, because at the end of the day, if I said to you, someone's trying to kill me in my dreams, you'd be like, okay.
Can I just ask, if they like spent the night away from Elm Street, would that be alright?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think this guy is after them. Do you know what I mean? I think when it's in your dreams, there is no escaping.
Heavy.
Because I always no, but I always wondered that when I saw films like The Exorcist. If she didn't live in that house, would
she be
would that have happened? Would it leave her?
Not seen it.
Yeah, really?
No, refuse to.
Okay.
Dude, I remember when you did your dissertation on it, and I was like, "It's no fucking way I'm watching this."
I know. I don't blame you. I'm never fucking watching it again.
I remember my dad telling me the true story behind it, and I was like, "No, it's not gonna happen."
Yeah, no. But I think, no, I think at the end of the day, with this film, it is very different. And you know, I think the fact that one thing you mentioned about how you know, when it comes to scary films, I think you could watch this, because you've never seen it, have you?
No.
I think you could watch this and not find it scary, not find it gory.
Can I watch it with you?
Yeah, of course you can, because I have it. But I think that's one thing I like about it. There are like the blood scenes, like for instance when Johnny Depp's character is killed. It's ridiculous.
Johnny Depp dies.
Yes, Johnny Depp dies. Spoiler. It's ridiculous. Like, do you know what I mean? So whenever I watch this film, I never hide my eyes, because you don't need to. And it's not because it's not scary. It's because you just don't need to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Yeah. But it doesn't lessen it in any way. So I think the sign at the end, right, I'm going to end it with this. I think the sign of a good horror film is when you don't have to hide because of gore. I think it's okay to hide because you're scared, because who's behind the curtain, who, you know, like in The Shining, very psychological. I think that's okay. But I don't think a good sign of a horror film is you don't want to watch someone's guts and head and all that kind of crap being ripped off. I think the good sign of a horror film is being able to watch it from start to finish, but without covering your eyes, because it is scary, but it's not disgusting.
Yeah. No, I
you know?
Yeah, that's kind of horror movie I'm interested in.
And I think that this is that. It's not disgusting. It's scary.
Mm.
And there's moments where you're like, oh, but it's not disgusting.
Okay.
So that's how I'm going to leave that. Watch it because it is scary.
Yeah.
But it's not grotesque.
Mm. Do you know, thinking about the horror film, I appreciate a horror when there's a suggestion of stuff.
No, I've done that as well. And I think The Shining's a bit like that. You don't see a lot in The Shining.
I was told with and this is funny you say about The Shining. The Shining is the only film where I've covered my eyes watching it. Alec was fast asleep, and I was just like, I'm gonna watch this. I don't know why I decided to watch it. He was fast asleep, and I was just like, I'm gonna do it. And then it got to the shower scene, and I was just like, I've heard about this scene, and I think I should cover my eyes. So I covered it, and then I like opened up my fingers.
Yeah,
so.
you open your finger. Yeah, I've done that.
I was like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm gonna watch it like this. And then it wasn't that scary.
No, it's not.
But there's other films that have really haunted me, and they're haunting, and they're about hauntings, and I'd say, The Others. Have you seen that film? Yeah. Messed with me. The Orphan or whatever it is, that the thing by that messed with me. And it's always like the suggestion. I'm not into.
But that's what I like. That's what I like. And like when I say I like horror, and like the fact that I, you know, read so much about serial killers and all that kind of stuff. Like when I listen to stuff about serial killers, I don't want to know. As soon as they start talking about the gory details, I don't want to know that.
Yeah.
I've killed this. You know, I've killed children, I've killed adults, I've killed gay men, I've killed whatever. That's all I need to know. I don't need to know how you did it.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? And that's the thing with me. You know something bad has happened, but you don't need the gory details.
Yeah.
And I think if you do need the gory details, then what's wrong with you?
Yeah. No,
Sorry, people,
like,
but like, you know.
Oh, what's that guy? Eli Roth.
Wallach.
No.
No, oh, Eli, that's the actor. Eli, you're on about Hostel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those kind of films.
yeah.
I just don't get it.
Mm.
I say that. Like, I
Eli
enjoyed...
Roch.
Yeah. I enjoyed 30 Days of Night, and that's very gory.
I love that, yeah.
But I just think that's a very suspenseful...
But to me, that's not gore in the sense that Hostel is gore.
No
Yeah.
way. It's tense. Like that scene
Yeah.
when they're in the attic and they've got to
Yeah.
stay quiet.
Yeah.
It's like a quiet place. I was
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
you know, you're on the edge.
I love that film.
I
by
love
the way.
that kind of... It's a great film. And that's the end... that was the first horror movie that's not like black and white that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And then from then on, things like that. And I'm just making a plea to the BBC. I think you should make season 2 of The Living and the Dead, by the way.
Oh.
I think you'd like that.
Yeah.
Check it out on iPlayer.
I will.
It's like a Victoriana ghost story, but it's very good. And they're not making a second season, which really pisses me off. So yeah, that's cool. Okay, I'll check that out with you. Maybe.
No, I think you should.
I don't think I could watch that on my own.
I think you could.
Mm.
It is no, it is scary. It is scary. I think what makes it scary is like the boiler room thing, and I think sometimes, you know, you don't know where he is, you know, because it's dream and not dream. And
is it a situation like? Because I have it, like I said earlier, I have a tendency to be like, flick into the reel and be like, motherfucker, you're just wearing a mask. I could tell you that.
no,
Okay.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that, because it's weird, because you know he's not real, but yet he can do damage.
Don't fall asleep.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like I'll wake up and everything's fine, or, you know, daylight comes and it's not dark anymore. You know, it's not that type of thing.
I hate that in films.
There's no escaping him, because, you know, yeah, fine, during the day you can walk to school or go to the shops or something, but your quiet time, your safe time, is when you're in your home at night and you turn out the lights and you go to sleep. That's when you're supposed to be safe. But you're not in this film. In this film, your safe time is outside with all the potential, you know, murders and bombs and all the bad things that can happen to you. But in this film, the bad that can happen to you is when you're in the safety of your home, asleep, you know?
Yeah.
And that's when we think of when we think of being safe, we think, I'm at home now, I'm going to go to bed, everything's great. But as soon as you shut your eyes, you're fucked, basically. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's the difference as well with this film. It's like the safety is not the norm. So yeah, so definitely give it a watch, Harry.
I might.
I think you'll enjoy it.
Right then, I think that's time to move on to the Flashback Film Club.
Oh, I love this film.
I love this film.
I love this film. Put the lime in the coconut.
Did you get all of it?
You put the lime in the coconut. Doctor, is there nothing I can take? I said, doctor, to relieve this bellyache. I said, doctor.
I've sang this very often when I'm drunk.
I do love this film.
Yeah.
And for those of you who didn't get it from my beautiful singing voice, it's the 1998 film that actually, Harry, I had to say this to you. In the UK, it was released in 1999, so you kind of get your 1999 fix here. Starring Sandra Bullock, Nicole Kidman, Stockard Channing, Diane Wiest, and the ever so handsome Aidan Quinn. Written by Alice Hoffman. Practical magic.
Can I just say though, I love this film,
I love this film.
but it's nothing like the book. And
Just to ruin the moment.
Alice Hoffman's my favourite author in the world. Yeah, I've read this book, her book, Practical Magic, like 3 times. But yeah, it's
Only 3.
only
Okay.
3. Yeah.
Call yourself a fan.
But yeah, it's nothing like the film. But I appreciate them for their own separate quirks.
I love this film.
I love this film.
And it's directed by Griffin Dunn.
What a
You may know
great
him from
name.
Who's That Girl? Madonna, you know the film? Who's That Girl, Madonna?
I know of it.
And
Did you have a
he was
jaguar or
also-
something in that film?
Yes, but he was also in American Werewolf in London.
Yes, and
Yeah.
he was also in a film I watched recently with Keira Knightley and Sam Worthington, and it was pretty sad. So I can't remember the name.
But yeah, great film and extremely fabulous female lead.
Yeah.
Very strong cast. But myself and Harry have seen this film.
Do you know, I'm really
multiple
surprised.
times.
I'm surprised we connect on this film because it's about the witchy woo, which I love, and
The witchy woo.
the witchy woo.
I love a good witchy woo.
And I didn't think you were so much into the witchy woo, but when we were at the uni and you said
I
that,
love the witchy woo. If that's its technical term.
right, we're getting t-shirts made.
I love the witchy woo. Wear them on my hen do.
Oh my god, that's
Oh God.
happening. That's happening.
I see her TikToking away over there.
So for those of you that don't know about this film, it's about two sisters, Sally and Gillian, and their parents die due to a family curse. So they end up living with their two aunts on the maternal side, played by Stockard Channing and
Diane Weiss.
they're called Jet and
Frances.
Francis. That's the one. And the film basically centers around this family curse, where the loved one of a female member of the family ends up dying. And they hear the sound of the Death Watch beetle and they croak it, and it's heavy, and it's about sort of beating that curse. And Goran Vizinjik's in it, isn't he?
Oh, from ER.
Yeah,
From ER.
yeah.
From ER.
From ER. It's lovely. It's got a great soundtrack as well.
It's got an amazing Stevie Nicks, Joni Mitchell. Oh,
That was the first time. I mean,
and
my middle.
that other fella, what's his name? Marvin Gaye.
Oh yeah, gotta give it up.
Yeah. Sounds exactly like that. No, the soundtrack. It's one of those soundtracks that you actually would put on and listen from start to finish.
Yeah, totally.
I love it.
My middle name, Amelia, I found out after like getting into Joni Mitchell from this song, from her song in this film, was named after a Joni Mitchell song. I'm Amelia. But A Case of You is. I actually, on the way down here, that came on my shuffle, and I was like, "Oh, this is timely. I'm going to be singing to this later." It was great.
It's great. I love it.
Sandra Bullock plays a character called Sally. She's kind of the down-to-earth, homely, sensible one. It's interesting because in the film in the book she renounces magic. She's like, I'm not, gonna practice magic. But
She does to an extent in this film.
to a little bit. She kind of, but then she does like in the film she
Yeah.
like spins her coffee and everything, and then her sister is Sally's like the sensible one, but then her sister Gillian, played by Nicole Kidman, is the more wilder one, and she escapes the small town that they're part of, and that house.
Yeah, fabulous.
It's fake.
Really?
It's not a real house. They made it for the film. I know. How sad.
That's very sad.
I know. It's a great house. Gillian goes away, and then when they're younger, their aunts they cast spells for the local women who have issues with their love life, and they see one woman who's just like, I just need him to fall in love with me, and
I know,
it's horrible. Weird. Yeah, it's a weird scene, and they witness this, and Sally goes, "Oh, I never want to fall in love," and Gillian's like, "I can't wait to fall in love."
Yeah,
and then Sally goes into a beautiful conservatory, orangery, whatever, and casts a spell. This is at the age of 11 or whatever, and she's just like, "I'm creating a man who doesn't exist,
yeah.
so that I'll never."
One green eye, one blue.
Yeah. And on his
star.
there'll be a star.
Yeah.
It's a lovely scene, and she's like, "Well, if he doesn't exist, then my heart will never be broken." And then they're suddenly adults, and Gillian leaves, and she just keeps falling in love all the time. She's falling in love. She's messing around with blokes.
Infatuation.
Yeah, and she's with a bad guy called. She's with a bad guy.
It's got a Jimmy Angelov.
Yeah, Jimmy Angelo.
Yeah, Jimmy Angelov. Yeah, it's called.
And he's not a very nice guy. And to tame his wild nature, she gives him what's the flower that she gives him?
I don't remember. She gives him something so that she can basically get some sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to Sally and her husband, who she her aunt cast a spell that says she falls in love with this cute guy who like notices Sally, and they genuinely fall in love, and they have two little girls, and then it's really horrible, that scene.
And that beetle comes along and he dies.
The beetle comes along and she tears up the floorboards trying to kill it so that her husband doesn't die, but he dies, and it's heartbreaking. And she's like, bring him back, and they're like, and the aunts are like, we can't do that, because he just won't be the man that you knew. And she ends up moving in with the aunts and saying, you know, my kids are never going to do magic. They're going to live normal lives. And then
that doesn't happen.
And chaos ensues. And it's a real sort of... anyway, Gillian... Should we tell them that part?
It's an old film. If they haven't seen it by now, it's their own fault.
Yeah, so Gillian... Sally gets a phone call in the middle of the night, and Gillian has basically accidentally killed Jimmy.
As you do.
Yeah, with an overdose, and she has to go and sort out her little sister, you know. So she drives down there, and it turns out he's not dead. And they end up accidentally killing him again.
Double jeopardy.
And then they're like, you know, fuck, what are you going to do? So they take him back to the house where the aunts live, and they bury him. And hope that that's the end of it.
And then obviously Aidan Quinn's character,
Gary Helen,
the policeman, comes
investigating,
looking for him.
Yeah, because what's his face isn't a very nice character, is he?
No. He's not nice at all. But so they come looking for him because obviously, you know, if someone gets killed, you've got to investigate. And then that's when I think Bullock's character Sally starts to realise that he has the qualities that she exactly that she put in her little box of who to not meet, I suppose. And he actually existed. But one thing I like about this film is like, I know they do the whole witch thing, you know, the stereotypical thing, like, you know, they're outcasts and was it witch you're a bitch, and you know, all these kind of things, but they don't obviously look like witches, like, you know, they're all these like gorgeous women. But one thing I think I find within this film that you find in a lot of Sandra Bullock films like Heat and Proposal is this like musical dance routine, which is the margarita, midnight margarita scene. And they put the lime in the coconut. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I think these scenes are so cheesy, and you see it in Heat and you see it in Proposal, but they work.
Oh yeah,
you know
totally.
I mean? Sandra Bullock has a way of making them work. They shouldn't work, but they do work.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, you think it's just the magic of Sandra?
I do think Sandra Bullock is one of my favourite all-time actresses.
I love her.
I fucking love her. I think she is amazing actress. I think she's stunning to look at. I just think that
Great hair.
I love her fucking hair. Whenever I think of hair, I think of Sandra Bullock hair. But I think she's fabulous. And I think that, you know, when she does these scenes that should, as I said, not work, they work. And I do, as you said it, the magic of Sandra. The magic of the Bullock.
I think they're both pretty good in this. I think...
No, they are. But I don't know. I do like Nicole Kidman. I think she's a great actress, but for me, Sandra Bullock, there's just something. She just takes it up a notch for me.
Yeah, she's stunning, and she does the whole mysterious woman very well in this, especially. And it's funny. It's a bit of a sidebar, but this is the first time I remember being quite young, and I remember turning around to my parents and being like, Nicole Kidman's accent's a bit funny, isn't it? And it's because occasionally her Australian accent would come out in this film. It's like when she goes, let's go in and talk to the aunts, and you're like, that's Australian.
It must be hard to
Oh yeah, no, totally.
to do it.
I love this film in terms of its
I love
what's the set design and everything.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. It just totally
It's one of those. I love the location. It's one of those places where I want to go.
I googled it and
Does it exist?
yeah, but again the
House
house doesn't
doesn't
exist.
exist,
They made it for the film, but also throughout the year, because I watch this film on a yearly basis,
Yeah, I do as well.
I've noticed there's so many errors in it.
Oh,
Like
I don't want to hear about the errors.
I just have to tell you one. You know, there's a scene where they're like drawing a pentagram on his chest in whipped cream, and obviously I don't know if they didn't have like confidence in the actresses, but you can see where they've drawn a pentagram in black marker on his chest, and then they're like trying to fill it in. You're like, oh, can you just edited it so that we didn't see that?
Harry ruins everything.
I ruin everything.
Yeah, do.
No, it's funny. It makes the film, it adds to the charm of the film. No, it's a lovely film, and it's
Quite a dark film though, in places.
yeah. When she gets what's the word? Taken over by Jimmy. This is Nicole Kidman's character, Gillian.
When she does that thing. Oh,
And she like licks
yeah,
Sandra Bullock's face. Yeah, that's not nice.
yeah.
But the aunts come in and they save the day.
I sort it out.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it's
a really
quite
nice film about sort of female solidarity, and I like that.
Yeah, it's a strong female-led film.
I don't think Aidan Quinn's made many films since this, really, has he? He's lovely in this film, by the way.
No, I don't think he has. No, I think Aidan Quinn in this film was great casting.
Yeah. He's a
I do-
gentle but
Yeah.
serious kind of cop. In the books, again, he varies differently very much to the book.
does he?
Yeah, he's like 6 feet tall or something in the books. And he's from... he is from Arizona, but... Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's done a few bits, but yeah, no, he hasn't really done much. But no, in this, I do like him in this because he's very. I think because they've got such at the time they have such a very crazy life at the moment because they're obviously trying to hide what they've done, whereas he's kind of like so laid back.
Yeah, it's almost like he just doesn't care too much.
No.
He's just he's all about Sally. He read the letter. He just wants to go there and meet her, really, and he plays that well. He's like, I got a case to solve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I do. I like his character in it. If I'm
I
honest
love
with you.
their clothes in it as well.
Yeah.
Every single item of clothing, I'm like, I would wear that.
I could rock that.
I could rock that.
Yeah.
And of course, you've got the young Evan Rachel Wood in this as well.
Oh, I know. I always forget that that's her.
Yeah.
So I do.
What a lovely film to start out in.
Yeah. No, it was no. This is one of those films where you can watch over and over again.
Yes.
And it never tires.
No. Such a gentle Sunday afternoon
Yeah.
viewing.
Yeah. It never tires. So yeah, I think basically this is a really good film for Flashback Film Club.
It is also the only film where I've appreciated Faith Hill's music.
This kiss,
Unstoppable.
yeah. No, again, great soundtrack. Great sound. I do love it when you like it's the same with like The Greatest Showman. Is like, you know, when the soundtrack is just something you listen to away from the film.
Well, yeah, no, there's that song, Stevie Nicks song, Crystal.
Yeah.
And I was really young, but I remember just sitting outside in my back garden, and I had my CD, Walkman.
The CD.
And I put that on, and I was just like enjoying the sunset on, summer's eve, and I was just like, this is a good song, and I'm glad a film introduced me to it because
and I think that's one thing, because like obviously anyone who knows me knows that Stevie Nicks is my all-time favorite female artist.
She's got an interesting voice.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with her. I think she's amazing, and Fleetwood Mac. But despite the fact that they just fired Lindsey Buckingham, but we won't talk about that. They fired him, and replaced him with Neil Finn from Crowded House. Disgusted. Nothing against Neil Finn, but you know,
Wow.
yeah,
That's heavy.
yeah, not happy about that. But anyway, we won't go into it. But yeah, no, but I think for me, the soundtrack is just as important as the film. I mentioned it. I think we were talking about it when, you know, I spoke about the Pixies and Where Is My Mind at the end of Fight Club, because you spoke about Fight Club in one of the episodes. A song makes a difference to a film for me.
Oh, definitely.
You know, it's so important.
I think that's definitely a topic for another podcast.
Soundtrack. Yeah, I think that's definitely something we should do, because this, I love it when you watch a film and then you like, I'm going to go on to Spotify and I'm going to get the soundtrack because I want to listen to all of that again. You know.
Do you always trust?
That sounded exactly like her, Harry.
First initial feelings.
Oh, I love Stevie Nicks.
Come, let's believe it.
Yeah, she's ruining it.
No, check it out.
Okay.
I think that's it for episode 7.
No, Harry.
No?
I want to know what you're going to watch next.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay. All right, we can do this. I want to go and watch Thoroughbreds.
I've never heard of that. What is it?
It is like, as far as I'm aware, a modern day Heathers.
Ooh.
So it stars Anya Taylor-Joy, I think that's her name, and Olivia Cooke from Ready Player One. And they're these two girls in, I think, Connecticut, and they're not very satisfied with their upper class lives, and they're slightly deranged, and they decide to kill Anya Taylor-Joy's stepfather or something like that.
Wow.
And it's also Anton Yelchin's last film before he died. But it looks really like...
Oh, the Star Trek fella.
Yeah, I really like him.
I know, it was a shame.
It was a big shame. But yeah, it's meant to be sort of like a modern day Heathers style
Wow. Do you know...
dark comedy.
I'm not going to say fun fact. I'm going to just say fact. But one of the main girls out of that film, she died recently.
Heathers?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I think one of the main blondes. Yeah, she died in it recently.
Oh, wow.
Only in 40s, yeah.
Sad.
Yeah, not good. I see you mentioned The Alienist. That popped up on my Netflix today.
Yes, it's just come out on Netflix, but I did know about this. I think it's something to do... No, that's something else. I was thinking of The Nick, but that's not Soderbergh. That is Soderbergh, but this isn't. But this is like a dark, sort of Victorian era kind of serial killer story. And
Okay,
it
I'll
stars...
probably watch that.
Yes. Of course. I'm going to go watch Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah, no, actually, that's going to be one of mine as well. I can't wait to see it. I'm going to go see it on the 2nd of May. And I know you're going to go see it on Thursday, Harry. 26th of
Day
April.
comes out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So actually, when you're listening to this, we would have both already saw it.
Yeah.
So I'm so looking forward to that. That's definitely cinema watching.
Yeah.
But I want to see, I've seen a clip for Rampage.
It looks fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind having a look at that. And also A Quiet Place.
Do it.
Definitely want to see that. And Love, Simon.
Yes, that looks
I
nice.
like the look. It looks nice.
Looks a nice sort of...
No, it looks like
modern tale,
but to be honest with you, it's not, for me, it's not going to be a cinema film. It's going to be when it comes out film on the telly. And I think, yeah, I like the look of it, but I think that'd be a nice film to watch at home.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. So, all right, where can I check you out elsewhere?
Where you can check me out? Well, you can go to WordPress, Pinterest.
You should see
Twitter.
the hand actions she's doing right now. She's like very like street.
That's because I'm like Jay-Z. I'm down with the finger gestures and hip kids. So yeah, WordPress, Pinterest, Twitter, Instagram, and everyone is the same thing. It's Mums Who Wing It.
Sweet.
And Harry, what's your story?
I'm on WordPress, Twitter, and Instagram, down as Tales of Beck. Myself and my partner make sort of travel-esque videos, and we're on YouTube down as Head Productions.
They've just put up a really good one of California.
That's right, it's first in a series.
I feel like I need to sing the song by that
California.
singer, the rapper that died, Tupac. California. In the city.
Had a party.
Sorry.
It's so sad.
We don't get out much. It's Saturday night and we're here drinking Peroni. Yeah, so
other beers are available.
yeah. Oh, so again, we want to say to everyone that we're really, really, really pleased that you listen to us. And if you could, when you're listening to us on iTunes, there's 5 stars, and it would be really helpful if you hit all of them, because that's how we get up there. So if you could really, really do that, we'd really, really, really appreciate it.
And also just feedback to us about where you'd like to listen to us on. Any other platforms out there that we're not aware of. Like, we want to know, so we'll do that for you.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, leave reviews. And be they bad or good, we accept all forms of criticism.
Tell us your flashback film clubs or any films that you want us to watch as well. We want to know that too.
So episode 8 is going to be Wes Craven with special guest Luke. And so you've been listening to Show Me the Podcast, and thank you for listening.
Adios.
And I have to return some videotapes.